Camera dropped into a deep hole, but what it recorded inside was terrifying. It was early morning when Emma, a farmer in northern Texas, noticed something strange on her land. Right in the middle of her pasture was a perfectly round hole. It hadn't been there the day before. The hole was wide, dark, and silent. Emma thought it might be a sinkhole, but the edges were too smooth. There were no cracks, no signs of collapse, just a perfect black circle in the ground. Curious, she decided to lower a camera inside. She used a long cable and tied a flashlight to the camera. As the camera went down, she watched the footage on her screen. The deeper it went, the stranger it got. First, the air grew colder. Then bright flashes of light appeared. At 300 feet, the lights blinked in patterns like something was moving. At 500 feet, something shocking appeared on camera. Emma sat in silence on her porch that night, staring out at the field where the hole had been fenced off. The men in suits had told her not to talk, but the weight of what she had seen pressed down on her chest. The sound of whispers from the footage wouldn't leave her mind. Even though her camera had been taken, the memory of the flickering light and the way the cable had burned against her hands haunted her. Every time she closed her eyes, she could hear the faint hiss of voices, as if they were calling her name from somewhere deep below. Sleep became impossible, so she sat awake until dawn, watching for lights above the field. When the sun finally rose, Emma decided she needed answers. She thought about driving into town to speak with her neighbor, but when she stepped outside, she froze. Two black SUVs were parked at the edge of her dirt driveway. Men in suits stood near the vehicles, sunglasses covering their eyes. They didn't wave. They didn't move. They just watched. Emma felt a chill run through her as she stepped back inside. It was clear now that she wasn't just dealing with a strange hole on her land. Whatever this was, it was bigger than her. Bigger than the farm. Maybe even bigger than the entire town. The next few days passed in a haze. She tried to go about her usual routine, feeding the animals, tending the crops, but every time she looked out across the field, her stomach turned. She could hear the faint hum of machinery from behind the fences. At night, the glow of floodlights cut across the horizon, spilling over the land that had once been hers. It was like watching her world disappear piece by piece. One night, as she lay in bed, a low vibration shook the house. The windows rattled and the dogs barked. She thought it was an earthquake, but when she ran outside, she saw beams of pale light shooting upward from the fenced area. The glow pulsed, almost like a heartbeat before vanishing as quickly as it had come. Emma tried to ask the men in suits what was happening, but they gave her the same line every time. National security, stay inside, for your own safety. She wanted to believe them, but nothing about their presence felt protective. It felt like she was a prisoner on her own land. One morning, she noticed a drone hovering above her barn. When she stepped outside, the drone turned and zipped back toward the field. Her chest tightened. They weren't just watching the hole, they were watching her. Despite the warnings, Emma couldn't let it go. She needed to know what was inside that hole. A week after the fences went up, she drove into town to visit a friend she trusted, a local mechanic named Clara. She told Clara everything she remembered, the whispers, the flickering lights, the way the camera had been pulled violently before cutting off. Clara listened with wide eyes and told her she wasn't the first to notice strange things out by the farms. There had been reports of missing livestock, fields where the soil was scorched in perfect circles, even strange lights darting across the night sky. Emma realized her story wasn't isolated. Whatever was happening went back further than she thought. That night, Clara came back to the farm with her. They parked far from the field and crouched behind the barn, watching the glow of the floodlights. The hum of machines drifted through the air, and every few minutes the sound of metal scraping echoed across the farmland. Clara raised her phone to record, but the screen flickered and froze. No matter how many times she restarted it, the camera refused to work when pointed toward the hole. Emma's stomach sank. Whatever was out there didn't want to be recorded. Suddenly, a sharp noise cut through the silence, like static exploding from a broken radio. Both women clapped their hands over their ears. The floodlights blinked out for a split second, plunging the field into total darkness. In that moment, Emma thought she saw something rise out of the hole. It was only for a second, just a shifting mass of shadow, but it moved against the faint moonlight before dropping back down into the earth. When the lights flicked back on, the field looked normal again, but Emma's pulse raced. She knew Clara had seen it too from the way her face had gone pale. Neither of them spoke as they slipped back inside the house. Over the next few days, Emma became consumed. Every sound, every flicker of light, every shadow at the corner of her vision felt like a sign. She started keeping a notebook, recording times and details, sketching what she thought she had seen. The men in suits never left, and sometimes she caught them watching her windows at night. The paranoia grew until she could barely stand being inside the house. She wanted to leave, to run far away, but something in her gut told her she couldn't. Not until she understood what was in that hole. One night, Emma snapped. She waited until the guards changed shifts and crept out of her back door. Dressed in dark clothes, she carried nothing but a flashlight and an old recorder. She slipped through the tall grass, heart hammering in her chest, until she reached the fence. The hum of machinery was louder now, steady and rhythmic, almost like breathing. She ducked under the fence and crawled closer. The hole stood before her, larger than she remembered, swallowing the light from the flood lamps around it. She clicked on her recorder and whispered into it, her voice trembling. "This is Emma. I'm at the hole. It's real. And it's alive." Just as she reached the edge, the ground shook violently. A deep rumble rose from the earth, and the air grew so cold her breath turned white. She pointed her flashlight down into the darkness, and for the first time, something looked back. Two faint lights glimmered in the black, spaced apart like eyes. They blinked once, and the recorder in her hand began to hiss with static. Emma stumbled backward, but before she could run, a blinding beam of light shot out of the hole, engulfing her. She screamed, the sound echoing across the field before everything went silent. When she woke up, she was lying in her bed. The sun poured through the window as if nothing had happened. But when she sat up, her arms ached. She looked down and saw her skin covered in strange markings, faint patterns that shimmered like they had been burned into her. She gasped and pulled her sleeves down, but the memory of the light seared in her mind. Her recorder was gone, her flashlight was gone, and when she stumbled outside, the entire fenced area was empty. The men in suits, the trucks, the machines, all of it had vanished overnight. Only the field remained perfectly still, as if the hole had never been there. The town never saw Emma again after that week. Some say she packed her bags and left in the middle of the night. Others whisper that the men came back for her. But those who lived closest to the farm told a different story. They swear you can still hear a faint hum rising from the earth. And if you stand at the edge of the field and listen closely, you might hear whispers calling from deep underground. Some say they hear Emma's voice among them, trapped forever in the place where the earth opened up and something unimaginable stared back. And to this day, no one has ever found the hole again.